It's about time, it's about time.
Well, hello and welcome, finally, to the next instalment of my vlog. Big apologies that it's taken so long. This year just seems to have been a crazy year. The last couple of weeks I've been doing the line edit of When I Fall in Love. And finally I can report it's finished! Woo! I'm very, very happy to report that to you. Actually quite a good line edit this time. Not a lot of work to do, but none of it taking stuff out really. It was more putting more stuff in. So I've been wandering through Paris on Google Earth. Such is the showbiz lifestyle that I lead. I can't afford to just go to Paris and just have a little wander around. But thankfully Google Earth is really good, and talking to lots of people who've been there. It's been quite a few years since I've been to Paris, so I wanted just to make sure that everything was right. Found some great places, so when Bob and I do go, we've totally got the itinerary sorted. But it's all done, it's all completed, so now it'll go back to my editors and it will go through a copy edit, which is when somebody else looks at it. My copy editor is called Rianne. She's really nice, and she did loads for me last year on It Started With a Kiss, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what she finds. She always finds things like I change people's eye colour all the time, happens, and sometimes I say the same thing twice, or I change a day, and she's really, really hot and all that stuff. So so looking forward to getting that back, and that will be in probably about a month's time, hoping that means I get some time off. That would be nice, wouldn't it? So I thought this week I'd tell you about When I Fall in Love, because I realised I haven't actually told you what the story is yet. When I Fall in Love is the story of Elsie Maynard. You're going to love Elsie. She's a very, very positive person. I'm going to put some pictures on the blog this week to show you kind of my dream cast, and you'll see who I've got in mind for Elsie. She's very confident. She's very much a go-getter. She'll go and do things. She makes positive things happen in her life, and even when life isn't particularly positive to her, she always finds a way through it, because I'm inspired by people who can do that, so I wanted Elsie to be that person. Now Elsie has suddenly found that she has an unexpected life. It wasn't in her grand scheme of things to be living this life, but she's kind of making the most of it, and she's starting to try and kind of move on. And without giving too much away, because there's quite a lot in there that I can't tell you about, so I want you to find it out for yourself when you read the book. But she basically has these things happen. It's 18 months since this really major event has happened in her life, and she's just kind of starting to not necessarily put her life back together again, but she's starting to just dip her toe into the future and see where it can take her. So she starts thinking about dating again. She works at a retro ice cream shop in Gardner Street, which is in North Lane in Brighton. Amazing street. If you get a chance to go there, then do. I've put together a bit of a blog which will be coming out in the next couple of weeks to show you all the places that I went when I did all my research. So I'm going to do a little location tour so you can see all the places in Brighton that I chose. I did actually go to Brighton, which is quite good for me. Not sitting on Google Earth, it was nice to get out and go by the seaside and sort of get a real vibe for the city. So she works in a retro ice cream shop called Sunday and Cher, because her boss is called Cher, as in Cher the singer. And Cher is amazing. She's a very kind of retro character. She has a beehive hairdo. She wears vintage clothes. She's very kind of cool. She has the worst dating life ever, and you're going to see some of her nightmare dates, which is quite funny. And so there's those two characters. Let's see who else there is. There's Ollie. Ollie, you're going to love Ollie. Ollie's just really, I'm a little bit in love with Ollie. Ollie is a friend of Elsie's dad, and he kind of sets them up on a bit of a date. And Ollie is just a lovely guy. He's into outdoorsy type things. He's into kite surfing. He's very laid back. He's a surfer kind of dude. He's also a graphic designer, so very creative. And just a genuinely lovely guy, and I think you're going to fall for him, because I sort of did. So it's kind of how she sort of maybe thinks about possibly dating, maybe Ollie could be the person. At the same time, there is someone that she bumps into right in the first scene. In the first scene, when we first meet Elsie, she's being accused of shoplifting. Because I quite like the idea of starting my books in unexpected places. So Welcome to My World is in a toilet, it started with a kiss, it's just after she's told, Romilly's told Charlie that she loves him. It's always, you know, I like the idea of it starting somewhere different. So she's actually explaining to a security guard why she shoplifted some items, and she doesn't realise that she shoplifted. And there's a guy who comes to her aid who is just the most, he's a handsome guy, but kind of a little bit too sure of himself and thinks he's playing the big macho, I've saved you card. And she keeps bumping into him. He's a guy called Torrin Stewart. He's a lawyer. He's sort of dark hair and these green eyes that you really sort of remember. And every time they meet, they just argue all the time, and he turns up everywhere. And you're gonna love that. I really wanted to write a real kind of sort of a love-hate type relationship. And it's kind of, you know, the sort of things that happen to Elsie as it goes on. Some of the places, there's a scene in a store that could be IKEA, which is one of my favourites at the moment. And hopefully at some point I'll get to share that with you. But it's just literally where she ends up, the only way she can get away from him is to go against the arrows, which you know in IKEA you never do. So that's the kind of things that are going on in there. I will put together a proper synopsis on the blog so you can see what's going on. The big thing that happens is that Elsie starts a choir. And it's a choir like no other. It's kind of, it's the brainchild of a former frontman of a 1980s rock band called Hellfinger, who literally had one hit and kind of had the fame of that one hit for about 4 years. And the guy who was the lead singer now sort of sees himself as a bit of a rock and roll guru. His name is Woody Jensen. He's definitely one of my favourite characters that I've written so far. Had so much fun with his kind of one-liners and with kind of unwrapping him as a character. He came very, very early on in the process of writing the book, and I know that you're going to love him. I will put some of his sayings actually on the blog because I'm quite proud of them myself, and I think you're going to love him. So instead of just doing, you know, Ave Maria or quite normal sort of choir things, he does these mad mashups of sort of ABBA meets Led Zeppelin, and Lady Gaga meets, you know, Simon and Garfunkel, and he comes up with all these crazy medleys all the way through the book that you'll see. And it's Elsie's sort of real opportunity to start something new. So I think you're going to enjoy that as well. So all that stuff is going to be on the blog to show you what it's like. If you have any questions, ask me some questions. Anything you want to know, you know what to do. Pop them in the box underneath this vlog and I'll answer them for you next time. Next time I will show you my background footage of walking around Brighton and all the locations for When I Fall in Love, so you can start to get a feel for what the book's really about. Obviously there's Paris in it as well. Not really get a chance to go and take my video camera around Paris before it comes out, but you know, I can show you some of the areas. I'll put some pictures on the blog as well so you can see. But have a look anyway. Hope you've enjoyed the vlog. Have a look at my dream cast and let me know if there's someone else you think would be a better fit for the character. And like I say, ask me questions and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.